You want to know what actually drives me crazy? The most hyped teenager on the planet. The kid Real Madrid paid a fortune for before he was old enough to drink. The one people literally call the next Pelé cannot get a single start for his own country. I don't mean he's third choice. I mean almost the entire nation is begging for him. The polls put it around 91%. 9 out of 10 Brazilians saying the same thing. Put the kid on the field. Meanwhile, look at who's ahead of him. Vinicius Jr., 7 years with the national team, goals still in the single digits. The next guy hasn't scored for Brazil in over a year. Another one managed exactly 1 goal all season. And Neymar, the supposed savior, has been injured for basically 3 of the last 4 years. So the country has spoken. The talent is obvious. So why is the one player everyone is screaming for nailed to the bench? Here's the part nobody wants to say out loud. It has nothing to do with soccer. To understand how insane this is, you have to understand who this kid was before the drama. Before he ever wore a Real Madrid shirt, he carried his club back home on his back and won them the league title, scoring more goals as a teenager than anyone had in 100 years. He got called up to the senior national team younger than almost anyone in history. And in his first big moment, at Wembley, in front of the whole world, he scored. He even scored at the Bernabeu, Real Madrid's own cathedral, before he was technically a Madrid player. It was too perfect. Storybook. And that, believe it or not, is where the problem started. Because in soccer, when a kid rises that fast, that clean, with that much attention, a word starts following him around. Industry plant. The idea that he's manufactured, too polished, too media-friendly, a little too good at being liked. And the knives came out early. The first real stain on his record? Brazil failed to qualify for the Olympics, and guess who got the blame? Him. Except here's the inconvenient truth. He scored or set up a goal in each of the first 3 qualifying games. Brazil's first loss came the moment they rested him. And the only reason they had a shred of hope going into the final game was an 88th minute assist he provided the match before. All of this at 3 years younger than everyone else on that team. But that was just the warm-up for how ugly it was about to get. 2 months later, they called him up to the Copa America, South America's biggest tournament, and it was a disaster. Brazil crashed out early, and in the single most important game, they did something cruel. They took a teenager who had barely played more than 15 minutes at a time and threw him into the starting lineup to save them. The result? 1 completed pass in 90 minutes. As one commentator put it, live on air, they wanted a 17-year-old to rescue the entire team. If there was one person who did not deserve to be the scapegoat, it was him. But scapegoat he became. After that, they didn't just bench him, they erased him. Over the next year and a half, he played a grand total of 99 minutes for his country. 1 real appearance in 18 months. The coach who had just left Real Madrid took over the national team and still found a way to ignore him. And here's the gut punch. When he got frozen out, when he needed anyone to speak up, not one of his famous teammates said a single word in his defense. Not one. The person who finally got through to him wasn't a teammate, it was his wife. She asked him one question. There are players who sit on the bench, and as long as the check's clear, they're fine. And there are players who want more. Which one are you going to be? Now, not everyone sees him as the victim. Some swear he's genuinely difficult, an attention magnet who poisoned the locker room. Others say he's a generational talent getting knifed by jealous veterans. Either way, what he did next, nobody saw coming. He did the one thing nobody expected. He walked away from Real Madrid, the biggest club on earth, to join Lyon in France, a team that had almost been relegated 6 months earlier. And from his very first game, He made sure no one could ever leave his name off a list again. A hat trick by his third game, the youngest player in the club's entire history. 5 goals in 5 games. Then, Lyon beat PSG, the reigning Champions League winners, and their manager was so rattled he refused to shake the kid's hand. And the moment that broke the internet? He jumped to celebrate a goal, and his shirt crumpled just right, turning his number 19 into a 10. Pelé's number. People called it a sign, the chosen one, again. So the national team manager had no choice. The kid was back. But even that came with drama, a penalty, and the veterans on the bench stood up, demanding he hand the ball to someone else. So why is he still frozen out? In Brazil, there are 2 theories. The first is the locker room. Of the 23 players from 4 years ago, 15 are back, and they run that room. Insiders and outsiders, and this kid is an outsider. The captain, Casemiro, the one you know from Manchester United, basically admitted it on the record. He just isn't part of the group. The second is uglier, and Brazilian fans can't let it go. Here's the detail almost everyone outside Brazil misses. Brazil, the federation, the team, nearly every player on it is sponsored by Nike. $100 million a year deal. Endrick is the one who said no. As a teenager, he turned Nike down for their rival, New Balance, his own Michael Jordan-style deal. So the whispers ask the uncomfortable question. When the one kid who snubbed the federation's biggest sponsor can't get off the bench, is that really about chemistry? Nobody can prove a thing. But good luck convincing Brazil otherwise. So here's where we land. Maybe it's the locker room. Maybe it's the money. Maybe he really is a pain to deal with. The difficult geniuses always are. But the World Cup is about to kick off, right here, in your country, and the best teenager Brazil has produced in a generation might watch it from the bench. Not because he can't play, but because of everything that has nothing to do with playing. If you think that's a mess, wait until you see what's happening inside the US men's team before they host this whole thing. That one's next. Subscribe so you don't miss it.